Yes, spring is here and so is tax time. As you gather data and fill out forms to meet the April 17th federal tax return deadline, we asked advisor Dorothy Bossung of Lowery Asset Consulting in Chicago how important tax considerations may be when choosing investments. Dorothy, what's your perspective?
Well, I think taxes are very important for the individual when they're considering their investments, and we take it a step further to make sure that they're properly placed. If you have an asset allocation that involves stocks and bonds, inside of an IRA, you might use taxable bonds. Outside of the IRA, you may choose to use municipal bonds. And I don't think that the new tax law has significantly changed the idea of using municipal bonds. In fact, it may have increased their use, particularly for folks that are in high tax states.
With respect to tax rules and obligations, how do you feel about trying to gain access to certain asset classes through a pooled investment such as a closed-end fund?
I think closed-end funds have their place in a portfolio. I think when interest rates are rising, it can be particularly difficult, though, to be focusing on the closed-end fund space. Most of them will use leverage in some form or fashion, which works out fabulously when interest rates are going down, and particularly when the equity market is strong, because they trade on a daily basis. And for some reason, even if they're a fixed income type of investment, typically will run a little bit better when the equity market is up and less well in terms of the portfolio performance when it's down.
Given the tax reform package adopted for 2018, what changes in investing strategy for your clients do you anticipate going forward?
Again, I would say that tax placement, appropriate tax placement, or looking at a portfolio in a tax advantaged way makes a lot of sense. So if you look at your base asset allocation, you'd want to be sure that your most tax inefficient asset classes are placed inside of your IRA, or things that you might think you're going to have to reposition on a regular basis for rebalancing purposes and that type of thing. And look at your more tax efficient investments outside of the IRA. So that might include things that you're buying and expect to hold for a prolonged period of time, where you can take advantage of long-term capital gains outside. Or in the case of the bond side of the equation, looking at municipal bonds.